Making mistakes is part of life because it's the way that we learn. And so today I want to talk about 15 key financial mistakes that you can avoid right from the start and be able to level up your money faster by avoiding these key mistakes. So let's jump right in. Number one is living beyond your means. So this is something you'll hear every financial advisor and financial coach out there talking about, but it basically means living paycheck to paycheck and then some. So you're spending everything you have coming in and then more. Your life is funded by debt and you never have anything that you're putting into savings or investments. Big mistake. Second thing, not budgeting. So this is something I am passionate about teaching here on my channel. You hear me talk about this all the time. I've got an entire playlist that will help you get started if you've never budgeted before. But it's really, really important to just know a couple of key things. How much is coming in every month, how much is going back out, and if you have anything that you're setting aside for your future self. So your savings, your rainy day fund, your investments, and your retirement. So really, really key to have that roadmap for yourself. Even though it takes some time to learn these skills, it will become second nature with some practice. So check out my entire playlist for how to set up an easy budget in Excel and all my tips and tricks about how to do this. The third mistake to avoid is not saving for emergencies. So we just talked about this as part of budgeting, but it's really important to have that rainy day fund because emergencies happen. Unfortunately, we saw a lot of this happen over the last couple of years with a lot of layoffs and a lot of cost of living increases, all of these things. And so it's really, really important to have money to fall back on so that if your paycheck is interrupted for a while, you're not suddenly at the food bank, for example, which is just really stressful to suddenly have nothing to fall back on. And I know a lot of people burned through their savings over the last couple of years because of what happened during 2020. And so now people are left without a lot of savings and they're grappling with the cost of living crisis. So I've got a playlist about that will help you deal with the cost of living crisis. Check that out. I'll link to that as well below, but at least begin to start saving for emergencies a little bit every month. It doesn't have to be a lot. Anything that you can hang on to and put together for later will help. Fourth mistake to avoid is ignoring retirement savings. So this is something that's very, very common, that people just simply don't have a retirement plan, or maybe their employer doesn't have a great retirement contribution plan either. So whatever and however you choose to do this, start getting your retirement plan together now. There are great retirement professionals out there who can advise you on how to do this, but it's super important to start right now saving for your future self, because you'll eventually get to that day where you either don't want to work anymore or because of health or other reasons you can't work. And so it's really important to have those savings and investment nest egg put aside for that time, having passive income coming in, and your working years are the time to make that happen. So really, really key to work with a retirement planner on that. The fifth mistake to avoid is having lots of high interest debt. This will basically kill your financial life, because if you are constantly servicing lots of high interest debt, whether it's car loans, whether it's credit cards, usually have the highest interest loans on or the highest interest in terms of loans you'll take out. But really, really key to avoid high interest debt as much as possible. Now, I know interest rates have gone up on everything in the last couple of years, but it's still really important to be very wary about taking out loans at high interest rates and be very wary about opening new credit cards if they have really high annual percentage rates or APRs. And think about, if you're going to take out a loan with a high interest rate, don't sign anything until you have a really, really solid plan of why you're taking out the loan. Do you really need it, or is it just a want and you can wait on it? And then what's your plan to pay it off? Don't have the plan be, oh, it's a 7-year loan, we'll pay it off over 7 years. Because if you have a loan that you take out at, say, 10, 12, 14%, which a lot of loans are running that right now, other than home loans, which are running a little bit less, thankfully. But for a lot of these other loans, the interest rates are really high on them. And so it's really important to think through what's your game plan for getting those paid off. The sixth mistake to avoid is impulse shopping. So this is so important to pay attention to right now with the cost of living crisis that we're in. If you have something that you suddenly just feel like you cannot live without, make yourself wait as much as possible. Set a waiting period, give yourself a couple of days, sleep on it, think about how you can afford it, or if you can afford it, why you need it. If you have something at home that already does what this other thing will do, it can be very easy to just have these impulsive things that you just do and then don't have a plan for paying it off, and it can cause financial hardship. So stay away from impulse buying. It's fine to make lists, it's fine to save stuff for later, but just don't buy things in the moment as much as possible. The seventh mistake to avoid is not investing. So this is so key. And I'm not an investment advisor, but there's many great investment advisors out there who can walk you through how to get your investment portfolios set up, whether that's within an IRA or within an individual portfolio. If you're a beginning investor, my very favorite platform to trade on is E-Trade, and this is not sponsored by them. It's just the one I use, but it's just wonderful. And in a matter of minutes, you can get yourself set up with a trading platform. They have IRAs over there. They've got great high yield savings accounts right now. They even have interest-bearing checking accounts at the moment, which I'm really happy about. I think it's like 3% at the moment on their interest-bearing checking accounts, which you hardly ever see interest-bearing checking accounts. So I feel like ever since E-Trade paired up with Morgan Stanley, they've been offering some great value to consumers. But if you go over there, you can really start to educate yourself about investments. I would specifically recommend that you start looking at exchange-traded funds, or ETFs. They're like a basket of stocks, bonds, other things. You can get all kinds of different ETFs, and they help you have a more diversified portfolio from the get-go. So that's a good resource as well. They also have access to Morningstar ratings. Morningstar is a well-respected investment advisory firm, and so you can look at their ratings on different stocks and funds as well. And then there's also some great resources there in terms of you get free access to MarketWatch articles, which MarketWatch otherwise you have to pay a subscription for. So lots of good resources for you there. And just keep in mind as well, as a beginning investor, you can lose every dollar you put into the stock market if you don't know what you're doing. So you can definitely make money if you're an informed advisor, or if you're an informed investor rather, but you can also lose a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing and put it into things that then lose value for you. So I highly recommend that you educate yourself on this and work with a qualified investment professional, investment advisor, to be able to put good, solid portfolios together for you. And also, I feel like for me personally, what I do is I don't invest money I'm not willing to lose. So I do not have all my money on the stock market. There are some people in the finance world who feel really comfortable putting pretty much all of their assets in the markets, and they look at it as a really aggressive growth strategy. For me, that would keep me up at night because I'm a pretty risk-averse person. And so my investment portfolio right now is very de-risked because try saying that fast 3 times. It's called de-risking, where you basically look at where the markets are and then decide where you want to put your portfolio based on market conditions, economic climate, all of this. So for where things are right now, I actually just recently took my portfolio from a pretty aggressive stance where I was making really great returns to where I de-risked and put my portfolio into a lot more less volatile assets, shall we say, things like bonds, money market accounts, and I've got a lot of bond ETFs, for example. I've got real estate investment trust ETFs, or REIT ETFs. So there's just a lot of different things that you can do. So you can take a much more aggressive investment approach. You can take a less aggressive and more conservative and more cautious investment approach. And you can also just make those changes based on where the market is at the time. So it's a whole really, really fascinating strategy to it that I'm just learning, which is why I don't advise about it here on my channel. But that's what I'm doing with my portfolio right now if you're interested. The 8th mistake to avoid is paying unnecessary fees. So this is something that you want to watch out for in terms of overdraft fees at your bank. You want to make sure you don't have to run into those. You want to watch out for late fees, things like this. Just anything along those lines is going to drain your bottom line when it comes to your money. The 9th mistake is neglecting your financial education, which you are not doing by being here on my channel, so congratulations. But a lot of people just never take the time to systematically educate and inform themselves about things like budgeting, saving, retirement planning, insurance products, investing, all that good stuff. And so because they've never taken the time to systematically learn it or hire a professional if they don't have the time to learn the skills themselves, then their financial life really suffers. So whether you want to learn it yourself, hire somebody good to do it, whatever your situation is, maybe a combination of both, but that is up to you completely. But any investment you can make in your financial education is going to help you level up your money as well. The 10th mistake to avoid is procrastinating on financial decisions. So this is something that is really key, whether you're looking at needing to put together a will for your family. A lot of people are a little bit superstitious, for example, about putting together a will, or the more advanced level of making a living will is putting together an entire estate plan, or perhaps you put together a trust for your family. So there's all kinds of different things you can work with an estate planner on this. And we just did that a couple of years ago, which was really nice to just get everything in order. But really kind of looking at, do you have a will? At a minimum, do you have a will? Do you have an estate plan, depending on kind of where you are in your life? And you don't have to wait until your later years to have an estate plan. I've got one now, and I've had one for 4 years, which I'm very happy about. And so it's all these different things. How about your insurance policies? Do you have a life insurance policy for yourself and your partner? The earlier in life you can purchase your life insurance, by the way, the better. We purchased our life insurance policies when we were in our early 20s, and our rates were phenomenal. And then they're just locked in for 30 years. So the sooner you can buy those, the better. Don't wait until you're in your 30s and 40s and 50s to try to pick up life insurance, because your rates will be astronomical if they approve you at all. It's very based on where your health is at the time and how risky your job is, among other things. So check with your insurance agent about that. The 11th mistake to avoid is falling for scams. So this is something that you see all the time, and I feel like it gets worse every time you turn around, where you'll get these weird looking emails or these weird looking text messages with links to click that are supposed to be a bill you forgot to pay, or a product that they're advertising or whatever, and you click on it, and then maybe you end up with some pretty serious problems on your hands. So really watch out for those scammy things. If something sounds too good to be true, looks too good to be true, just ask a lot of questions first. Number 12 is failing to plan for your taxes. So this is something that you can definitely work with a tax professional on, and really make sure that you're withholding the right amount from your income so that you're not hit with a big bill come tax time. And also, it's really, really good to work with a tax professional if you're able to do your taxes, especially the more complicated your family's financial situation or your personal financial situation gets, is to be able to work with a tax professional, because they can help you basically do the best out of your taxes that you're going to, and it can be a great service. So look into that as well. 12th mistake, or the 13th mistake rather, is lifestyle inflation. So this is something that we're constantly fighting the battle with because of social media. Social media just always throws all these beautiful images at us and shows us the life that we could be living, a good life. And then we look at whatever it is that we have and feel dissatisfied with whatever it is that we have all of a sudden, because we see our friends or our neighbors or some celebrity online living this really glamorous, amazing life, and driving these cars and living in this house and going on those vacations and wearing those labels and all of this. And it is so key, if you ever want to be financially independent, do not go for that lifestyle inflation of, as you make more money, just spend it all on consumer goods, and then make more money and then buy more expensive consumer goods. And it's just a constant thing. So it's really a choice that you have to make at any point where you are to start avoiding lifestyle inflation. And as you make more money, put more of that towards your future self, towards your investments, towards your retirement portfolio, towards your emergency savings. It's a conscious choice that you have to make, and no one else is going to make it for you. But don't get sucked into lifestyle inflation. If you only hear one thing out of this, don't get sucked into lifestyle inflation, because it's such an easy thing to get sucked into. Mistake 14 is not reviewing your financial statements. This could be your bank statements, credit card statements, your annual credit report, any bills that come in through the mail or email or text message links of bills that are outstanding. Just make sure you're keeping on top of all of that. I like to sit down and review mine every morning over coffee. You might not have time to do it that often, so maybe at least once a week. Designate some time, maybe at the weekends, to be able to just get a good rundown of exactly where you are, make sure there's nothing fraudulent going on with your accounts, and make sure you're on top of your bills. And then 15 and final mistake is underestimating small charges, small expenses. These days, with how much online shopping that we all do, it can be so easy to just nickel and dime yourself into poverty over $20 or $30 Amazon charges all day long of little things that you see advertised or see an influencer advertising or see a friend getting or a neighbor getting or a family member got, so you want one too, or your kid wants one because they saw the kid at school had one. And there's just so much marketing that goes on. And so really important to make sure that you're not like, oh, well, that's only $15. That's okay. Because many of those small things over time can really make a dent in your net worth. So start to really practice that approach of take a waiting period with those kind of purchases, even if they're fairly small ones. Just have a chance to at least take a day and sleep on it and think if you really need it. Because also, if you avoid a lot of those small minor purchases, it's less stuff to get rid of later, because especially kind of trendy items tend to end up going to the thrift store in the next 6 months to a year anyway. And so really think those through. So those are 15 major financial mistakes to avoid if you want to level up your finances and get to financial independence. Let me know which ones I've missed or forgotten in the comments if there's other mistakes that you want to share with our community. Thank you again so much for being here, and I will see you again soon in my next video.